At sunrise, the Colosseum was already busy. Its huge arches caught the first rays of light, while yesterday's blood still stuck to the stone like a shadow. Under the stands, sellers shouted for attention. Baskets filled with olives and watered-down wine, ready for a crowd that hadn't even sat down yet. Behind the iron gates, workers pushed half-starved wild animals into place. Lions with ribs sticking through their fur, elephants stomping in anger, panthers scratching their claws against the bars. From the tunnels came the sharp clang of swords, not practice swings, but tests for the day's killing blades. And over it all, a low hum grew into a roar. Tens of thousands of Romans pouring in, eager for the thing their empire did better than anyone. Death dressed up as entertainment. The Roman arena wasn't just a sport, it was a place for cruelty. Emperors flooded the sand to create fake sea battles, starved wild animals to make things more exciting, and forced prisoners to act out myths that ended with very real dead bodies. None of this was an accident. It was a plan woven deep into Rome's way of controlling people. Cheering from the stands wasn't harmless. It was loyalty shouted loud enough to echo through history. And today, we're stepping straight into that shadow. These are the most brutal, most cruel arena acts that went too far, even for Rome. From blood-soaked funeral ceremonies to executions dressed as theater, we'll discover how an empire built its glory on turning suffering into applause. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so you don't miss our next look into history's darkest corners. The first gladiator fight in Rome didn't begin with golden horns or emperors in royal purple. It began at a funeral. In 264 BC, the sons of Decimus Junius Brutus Sceva chose not to honor their father with statues or prayers, but with blood. They armed 3 pairs of slaves and sent them to fight to the death in the Forum Boarium, a cattle market thick with the smell of animal waste and smoke. This wasn't entertainment, it was duty, a gift owed to the dead. Its roots stretched far beyond Rome. In Campania, warriors were killed at graves to calm restless spirits. Over time, the killing shifted to combat. The dead no longer demanded random victims, but duels between chosen men. The Samnites, once Rome's bitter enemies, held such contests often, and Roman leaders eagerly embraced the custom. Burying a man with treasures showed wealth. Burying him with a blood-drenched show proved power. But funerals were only the beginning. By the 3rd century BC, Rome's leaders saw how these fights could do more than honor ancestors. They could control politics. Religious festivals, once serious offerings to Jupiter, began featuring gladiators. The Senate called it religion. But the crowd knew the truth. State-sponsored violence designed to keep the people loyal, even the armor told stories. Early fighters wore the armor of conquered enemies. The Samnite with his heavy shield, the Thracian with a curved blade, the Gaul with a broadsword. Watching them bleed was watching Rome's victories replayed slash after slash. Death became propaganda, and as blood spilled, the venues grew. Temporary wooden stands gave way to permanent amphitheaters. Temples to violence where thousands gathered. The games no longer belonged to grieving families. They belonged to the state. Each drop of blood whispered the same message. Rome commanded men, armies, even death itself. No one then could have guessed how far it would go. What started as a ritual sacrifice changed into theater, and duty became obsession. Rome had discovered a new weapon, power over not just the living, but the meaning of dying, and once released, it never closed that door. The crowd's roar wasn't reserved for men. Sometimes it thundered for beasts, hauled from the farthest edges of the known world. Lions from North Africa, leopards from the Caucasus, crocodiles from the Nile, even giraffes dragged across deserts. They weren't displayed as wonders of nature, but condemned as prey in a carnival of slaughter. Romans called these shows Venatians, hunts. They weren't about survival, but about domination. Proof the empire could trap the wild and destroy it for pleasure. Julius Caesar set the tone in 46 BC by parading a giraffe,